Broadcasting from WRAM Studios at Portage Middle School in Fort Wayne, Indiana. As a part of Fort Wayne Community Schools, this is the Reliable RAM Review. Brought to you by the TV broadcasting program WRAM and featuring the most relevant, up-to-date, and important information at Portage Middle School. This is your Reliable RAM Review. Hello, this is Portage Middle School's first Principal's Corner. I'm Liberty Sanders here with Mr. Kirshner. And so I heard you wanted to review the expectations at Portage Middle School.
I would. First of all, let me say that the vast majority of students are doing a good job meeting expectations. We have about 95% of students that are meeting expectations most of the time, but I think it's always good to get a reminder out there for that 5% of students who aren't meeting expectations. So first of all, we want to make sure that we're keeping hoods down at all times when we're in the building. We want to make sure that we are keeping cell phones in lockers during all instructional time. So that means that we'll allow students to use those during lunch, but then we ask that they put those away when lunch is over. And then finally, and most importantly, we want to make sure everybody's keeping their hands, feet, objects, everything else to themselves at all times in all school areas, because that's probably the number one thing that causes issues for us here at Portage is when students don't keep their hands to themselves.
Yeah. So about this trunk or treat on Thursday, what is happening then?
So on Thursday, we're going to have our trick or treat. We've decided to move that inside just due to the weather. So we always call it trunk or treat, and then the weather doesn't cooperate, so we move it inside. It'll go from 5:30 to 7. It's open to everybody in the community, so whether you're a Portage student or not, so you can bring brothers and sisters, friends from the neighborhood, and actually Lindley is going to have their trick or treat on the same night, so you can kind of double up and get extra candy. But our goal is to give out about 20,000 pieces of candy that's been donated to the school. And then we'll have some special music that some of your favorite teachers and some of your peers will be singing some Halloween-themed songs throughout the night.
Yeah, that sounds like a fun time. So when are parent-teacher conferences?
So parent-teacher conferences will be on Wednesday and Thursday, November 2nd and 3rd, and those will go from 3 to 7 p.m. We'd like to have 100% of parents here in the building for parent-teacher conferences. But we know that that's not always possible. So if a parent would like to participate but can't be here in person, there is a virtual option. They just need to set that up with teachers ahead of time.
Nice. So now that the first quarter is over, what are some things that went well?
So like I said, the vast majority of our students are meeting expectations most of the time. About 95% of our students are meeting expectations most of the time. So I think that's definitely worth celebrating. So for those of you who are meeting expectations the majority of the time, we do appreciate that. Secondly, we had very few students failing classes in the first quarter, so that means that we'll be eligible for athletics in the second quarter. And then I think we have more students on the honor roll than we've ever had before. And I would add to that, we took our beginning of year fast bridge data, and we didn't see, a lot of times when you go from the end of the year to the beginning of the year, we see some of that, what they call summer slide. We didn't see that with our data, and students came back ready to go, and our data is looking stronger than it normally does at the beginning of the year.
That's great. Anything else you would like to say?
I would like to thank the news crew for bringing RAM News back. So I know it was a lot of hard work. It's been about a two or 3 year hiatus, so I'm glad to have the crew back and working, and I appreciate all the hard work to get that done.
Yes, you're welcome. Well, thank you, Mr. Kirshner, and that was your Principal's Corner.
Hello, this is Mr. Tom Bailey, TV radio broadcast teacher at Portage Middle School and 8th grade language arts teacher. We are starting a segment called Hey Portage, What Are You Reading? And I'm joined today with Nivea Romero, 8th grader, and Caden Emmons, 8th grader as well. And we're going to discuss some of the books that we're currently reading right now. We're going to start off with Nivea first. What is the title and who wrote the book?
So the book I'm reading is Lock Every Door by Riley Sager.
And what is it about?
Our main character, Jules, is hired to be an apartment sitter at the Bartholomew. And while she's there, she meets another sitter by the name of Ingrid. However, a few days after becoming friends, Ingrid goes missing.
So it's like a mystery. We got to figure out what happened to Ingrid. What have you enjoyed about the book so far?
The book goes between flashbacks of what happened, like the scenes that led up to Ingrid's disappearance, and after Jules is in a hospital.
All right, so stylistically, it's kind of a back and forth, and it probably adds tension to the situation. All right, so Caden is reading a book from a series. So let's start with the series. What is the series?
The series is Heroes of Olympus.
And who's the author?
Rick Riordan.
All right, so that's a big series. Have you read some of the other books of it?
I'm reading it in order, but I've already read the entire series at least twice.
Okay, so nothing wrong with rereading. I've read Lord of the Rings about 14 times, so I can relate to that. So what is the book you're actually reading right now?
The book I'm reading now is The Son of Neptune. It's the second book in the series.
And, what stands out to you about this book? Why do you enjoy it?
Everything's interlocked, so if one thing happens, it affects the entire thing.
All right, so because what happens in one story is going to affect the outcome of things in different stories.
Yep.
Interesting. So yours was kind of a fantasy. Yours is like a modern mystery type of book. The book I'm reading is nonfiction, actually. It is Thinking in Pictures, My Life with Autism by Temple Grandin. I first became familiar with Temple Grandin because I heard her interview on National Public Radio. She actually works in the engineering and designing of slaughterhouses as the cows are approaching the end, so to speak. And the reason I chose this book is, one, when I listened to her interview on National Public Radio, I thought that she was kind of interesting and neat with her responses to things. But the other part is that, as an educator, I've had students with autism, various degrees, Asperger's syndrome and the like, and my 16-year-old son also has Asperger's. So I wanted to deepen my understanding of autism and kind of get a glimpse of how autistic people think and what they do and the wide ranges of those things. The first couple of chapters of this book, she goes into explicit detail about the research she herself has done on autism, as well as reflecting on her early life and the like. So it's been really interesting to see how she really literally does think in pictures. The other thing that I really like about this book, in addition to being informative, you don't have to actually read it in order. There is a chapter later on in the book called Einstein's Second Cousin, and that's way later in the book, but I read it and I was able to read that without having followed the sequence of chapters before that. So I really enjoy this book. It's been very informative, and it really has guided some of my professional learning as far as autism is concerned. So Portage, what are you reading? I'm reading Thinking in Pictures, My Life with Autism by Temple Grandin. You're reading?
Lock Every Door by Riley Sager.
I'm reading The Son of Neptune by Rick Riordan.
All right, and that is your very first segment of Hey Portage, what are you reading?